One song, 3 solos, 3 different bass players. What sets them apart and what do they share in common? Hey guys, in today's video we're gonna check out Hadrien Feraud, Federico Malaman and Johan Hansén-Larson, and we're gonna check out their solos on the tune Strasbourg St Denis. We're gonna compare their solos and we're gonna look at a few different musical aspects such as rhythm, scales, the melody that they're using, and at the end I'm gonna talk about a few things that I think are a big part of their vocabularies. If you haven't already, I recommend you to first listen to all 3 of the solos. I will link them down in the description where you can also see the transcriptions itself, so it will be easier to follow it. And once you listen to that, you can come back here and it will be a lot easier to follow the whole thing and the whole analysis that I will be talking about. Let's start with rhythm. So I wrote here solos side by side, so it will be easy to compare them. And we got Hadrien here on the top line, Federico in the second one, and Johan on the third line. They're all different colors, so it will be easier to distinguish them. And I wrote only the rhythm of their solos, so no pitches, so this will be a lot easier to follow. I also wrote 1 chorus per page, so 1 page will be 1 chorus long. And Federico's solo is 4 choruses long, Hadrien's is 5, and Johan's is 7, so it's a little bit longer. First thing that catches my eye right away from the start is that Johan is using a lot of space from the start. So he's leaving lots of room to develop his solo, while the other 2 are playing quite a lot lines already here. I'm gonna play you the Johan's first chorus and pay attention to how much space he's using. The other thing would be that they're all mostly using 16th notes, just as the basic value, or 8th notes, quarter notes, and with the exception of Federico, who is more than the other 2, is using these triplets, 16-note triplets or sextuplets if you want. So we see here the case and here. And I'm gonna play you the example where he's playing all this here, these triplets. Goes back to 16 notes and he's playing again this long sextuplets runs. So that's something to really cool, because he makes these rhythmical dynamics. He goes from playing faster to slower to playing fast to, you can actually see how he goes from these 16th notes here, 16 note sextuplets, to 16 notes to 8 notes. So pay attention to this. Besides from that, my general conclusion from this would be that Johan is the one who's using no triplets actually at all, but he's using the most space from all of them, and he's really using in a nice way, because he's quoting lots of his phrases, he's returning to them and inverting them or something like that. While Federico would be the one using the least space. He's playing really long phrases that go over the bars line, often like a few bars long. And Federico would be somewhere in between. He doesn't play that long phrases. I mean, he does, but they don't. He's using a little bit more space. So he's somewhere in between those 2. So now that we looked at the rhythmical values that they're using, let's look at the harmony and see what kind of scales they're using. One quick thing about the harmony of the song is that it's in A-flat key. We're in A-flat major tonality, and the whole tune has only 6 chords, and the last chord, the 6th chord, is the only one that's not in the key. So before we have everything in the key, with the exception of this F7 at the end, that chord doesn't belong to A-flat major key. So basically we will see the most different scales on that F7, and sometimes on the E-flat 7, the dominant of the 1 key, where especially Johan and Hadrien are using different scales to bring out some different sounds and flavors. So let's check out the scales. Mainly they're all using the major, A-flat major scale, and the parts where there are most changes are these parts here. So the E-flat 7, so it's just the regular 5, Especially Hadrien uses different scales here. So for example, he's using E flat diminished, while we see the other guys are using still in A flat major, or in Johan, in this case, he's using space. So and then here on the last chord that is actually not in the key, we see the first big changes, and these are that Hadrien is using here for a little bit F HM5 scale, which means the harmonic minor scale from the 5th degree. So that's basically B flat harmonic minor scale here, and then he's using F altered. And Federico is using F diminished scale in a really cool way. He's using these 3 different major triads to paint this color of the scale here. And Johan is using F altered scale, and he's outlining a C flat major triad, something he does a lot, and I'll talk about it later. So another thing is that what Hadrien is doing is he's often in a way superimposing harmony. So here he's creating in a way a fake F altered chord, because it will bring us back to the B flat minor chord here. So that's something that in his playing he's using scales to create motion music a lot. So if we go down here, again we see Hadrien is using E flat altered here, so something different. And here at the end we got F altered from Hadrien and Johan, and Federico is not using I think, well, actually he's using I think just like a F dominant sound. One interesting here is, yeah, in this I think it's the 3rd chorus if I'm not wrong, both Hadrien and Johan are using this A flat minor blues scale. So I'm gonna play the examples of both. Now I'm not sure if it's exactly like this, but it sounds very bluesy, the both of them, so it's kind of a blues thing going on. So let's listen to first to the Hadrien's version and then to the Johan's version. And then if we continue, go down here to the bottom of this 3rd chorus, we got an interesting last chord where all of them are playing different things. So I'm gonna play you side by side. I'm gonna play you first Hadrien, Federico, and then Johan, and you listen and try to hear the differences between these 3 scales and how they have all different colors. And from that point, we got, again, Hadrien doing his thing with superimposing harmony in a way. And yeah, nothing too different than from this point. We got some these 6 tuplets run from him. And Federico finishes his solo here. And Johan still continues here. But I don't think it's anything different than from previous. Like, yeah, well, he's using E flat altered, but nothing too different. So now if we look at some melodic stuff, melodic material that they're doing, when it comes to Hadrien Feraud, he's playing lots of enclosures, like approach notes and target notes. So he often targets thirds of the major or minor chords. So one thing would be to B flat minor, right? Targeting this D flat in B flat minor, or stuff like in A flat major. So he's targeting this C. Now his lines have very strong sense of direction. So, and when it comes to target notes, they're either at the end of his solo, so either something like that, and he finishes there, and often they are in the new, just at the start of the new bar, or they're points of pivoting. So his lines change direction once they reach this target note. So for example, like this. Right, so we reach that C, and then the line was descending, and when we reach the C, we go back ascending. So that's a really strong thing that he does in all his lines that I found. Well, not all the time, but it's a very common thing that he does. Now let's talk about Federico and his using of melodic material. The first thing that stands out to me is the use of triads. right? So when I talked about when he plays diminished scale, he's using these triads, major triads. Yeah, especially major triads. That's a really, at least in this solo, that's a thing he used a lot. So that's a big thing. The other thing would be this use of ghost notes. So he does stuff like, like in this way, but right, or something like with his lines, they are often he can play really long lines over the bar lines that stretch for a few bars, while the other two don't play such long lines. So that's I think that's a really big part of him, and he's using, like I said, lots of rhythmical variety, which is what I really like these 6 tuplets to 16 notes to 8 notes. Brings lots of rhythmical dynamics into his solo. And now Johan Hansén-Larson, in his solo, one thing that stood out to me was how he's playing like a solo up here, but also in the same solo he's playing this groovy like bass players kind of like solo, right? Up here he's playing all this line like melodic, and then he also plays a lot with the groove, and he's playing this bass player like solo here, you know. Like down here, which makes it very, very fun for the audience. You can hear in the recording, and yeah, it's something. It's a bass player solo as well. So I like that he's mixing in both. Another thing I noticed is whenever he's using F7 altered, he's playing B major triad or C flat major triad, and well, that's the big sound of the altered scale as well, right? But it's just something that he does a lot. So I think that's really ingrained in his mind, because whenever, I think he also, when he plays E flat 7 altered, he plays A flat dominant chord, A flat major triad with a minor 7. Here's the list of all the scales that they're using in their solos. As you can see, Hadrien is using the most, and I think that's a big part of his sound. Also this superimposition of harmony that I say, like enforcing harmony to create movement to resolve to the next chord. So that's a big part of him. Federico is using the least amount of scales, so he's using just the A flat major scale and the F diminished scale, so half whole tone scale. And Johan is a bit similar than Hadrien. He's using more different sound scales, but he doesn't superimpose harmony the way that Hadrien does. So that was a little comparison here between these 3 solos, just a few things that came to my mind. The rhythmical and the scale comparison PDFs are available over on my Patreon page for free, so you can go over there and just download it. The PDFs of the actual transcriptions are available for my Patreons only. So let me know in the comments which solo was your favorite, and make sure that you like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel perhaps. And until next time, stay safe and practice.